Good morning, Laura, and thank you for this interview. We are going to talk about London. How many times have you been to London?
I've been to London twice, but I will definitely go there again.
London has so many sites to visit. What was the one that impressed you the most and why?
Oh, that's a difficult question. London has so many interesting things to see. Buckingham Palace is a definite must. If you go there at 11 every morning, you can see the changing of the guards, which is a formal ceremony in which the group of soldiers currently protecting Buckingham Palace are replaced by a new group of soldiers. Sometimes there are some interesting exhibitions in the summer, so visitors can go into parts of the palace. The Queen is generally away in her summer residence in the summer. All this royal history sort of fascinates me, because that's something we don't have in Switzerland.
Well, what other sites have you seen so far?
There is the Tate Modern, for example, a modern art museum with a viewing platform. From there, you can take a fast boat to the original Tate Gallery up the river, which is well worth visiting too. Piccadilly Circus is like a smaller version of Times Square in New York, with all its light and night. Of course, let's not forget to mention the London Eye, which is an observation wheel. Tower Bridge is impressive as well, and for those who like to visit cathedrals, there are plenty to find in London, the main ones being Westminster and St. Paul's. Of course, we always like to go shopping as well, for example in Oxford or Regent Street.
Was there anything really special about your stays in London?
One morning we accidentally took the wrong exit from the underground and ended up in Chinatown. Until then, we didn't even know that there was a Chinatown in London. We were lucky to find it by chance and went there for dinner that same day.
London has so many things to offer young people too. What would you recommend to my students for a trip to London?
I would definitely recommend seeing a musical. There are many different theatres in London, and even more different musicals that are played. The atmosphere in these theatres is very special, and the international audience always starts clapping and singing along, which makes it a very special experience. What I can recommend as well is going to the Shard. You can either just visit the viewing platform and enjoy the great view all over London, or you can go to one of the restaurants or bars. And last but not least, you can go to the Warner Brothers Harry Potter world, which is amazing.
How about restaurants? Is there a good choice?
We really liked the Angus Steakhouse in Piccadilly Circus. It sure is a touristy place, but the chicken there is just amazing. For breakfast, we like to go to small, cute cafes, such as Paul's Bakery. As I mentioned before, Chinatown has a lot to offer to lovers of Chinese food as well. However, I would also recommend to just keep the eyes open during the day, as you might spot a restaurant where you would like to go for dinner. Often, smaller, hidden places surprise with great food and atmosphere.
Let's say you went to London in spring. What would you like to do then?
In spring, I would recommend walking through the parks of London. Go and get some takeaway food for lunch and look for a bench in a park. I always like to watch the people for a while, and you might see a squirrel running from tree to tree. Another suggestion is to go to the Camden Market. That's a place with unique shops, stalls, bars and cafes, where you could easily spend the whole day.
London is a very big city. How did you get around London?
We moved around by tube only. Just get yourself a map and a ticket, and you're free to explore the whole city. By the way, as visitor, you can buy a day travel card or an Oyster card. The Oyster card is a smart card. You can preload money on it and use it as a ticket for bus and for the underground.
Again, any tips for my students with regards to a trip? Where could they book tickets, or do you recommend booking anything in advance?
The tickets for all sites can easily be bought online from home. If you are really keen to visit a special site or exhibition, then I would recommend doing so. However, in my opinion, it's better to take it all in your stride. How about you just taking your time and walking around the streets for one day? You will surely see some beautiful and interesting things as well.
One last question. How long do you think you should stay in London to get an impression of the city?
I think to get a good impression of everything, 4 to 5 days are enough. But of course, you could spend 2 weeks there and still see something new every day.
Is there anything to add that we have not spoken about yet?
Yeah, for football fans, I would definitely recommend watching a game in the Emirates Stadium of Arsenal. Again, you can get there easily by tube.
Thank you for this interview, and maybe we will meet in London next time.
Thank you too, that would be great.